I think a lot of content on social media is of fighters victorious, like being badass. It's badass moments. That's usually what you think when you think of fighting. And then this was a different type of content where I was terrified. I was like, like the trainer was trying to get me to breathe because I was hyperventilating, and he's like, breathe. And I think there's not a lot of content out there showing fighters like, you know, summoning the courage. Big reason for why I fight is the courage factor. It's not about being badass. Like I'm terrified the whole time.
Welcome to Fruiting Body Podcast with your host, Brendan. Today we have another legend of a guest. It is Julia Gao Miller. She is Fight Nomad Julia on Instagram. And not only is she an Instagram, we would focus more on an influencer. She's going to teach you how to, make reels. She doesn't want to talk too much about that right now, but I'll make her. Julia's, I don't know how long, I think I've seen you around here for the past couple months. She's primarily working with gyms and, doing that type of content to maybe build that audience. And I mean, she clearly has done it. Over 200,000 followers on Instagram. So we're going to figure out how the hell did she do it? Don't forget to like, subscribe. This is the best podcast in Thailand. I said so that's it. That's the backing on that. We are a medicinal mushroom company located in the island of Phuket. Lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, we got it all. Products coming out in January. If you're tired of listening to me, we got timestamps down here. You can skip ahead. You can find chapters of content that you want to actually watch. I mean, you want to listen to Julia. You don't want to listen to me ramble anymore. So without further ado, Julia Gao Miller.
So cool.
Okay. So this is your first podcast.
It is, yeah.
Awesome.
It's been really fun observing.
Awesome. You know what's fun?
Behind the
like
scenes.
Popping the podcast cherries of people that come on. They're usually quite nervous because the lights. Are you nervous?
Well, now that you say so, I feel a little.
and that's always what I say to them. Are you nervous? Like, wait a minute, maybe. Okay, we're gonna kick this off now. I didn't explain you actually the format of Fruiting Body Podcast. It actually makes things real simple. Our idea is we want to tell the journeys of connecting you to Thailand. And the way we'll start, and we'll keep it chronological, not like a Quentin Tarantino film. We won't jump around. We're going to bring you to that point in which brought you to Thailand. So we're going to start with the beginning of your journey. Who was Julia Gao Miller? Where did you grow up? What's your story?
Oh my God. Oh no.
Yeah, right from the
Wait, what do you
beginning.
mean? Like, who was I before Thailand?
No,
Or-
let's start age 5 Julia. Where's she from? Where'd you grow up? Or you said at age 3 you moved from Beijing to US.
Oh,
So
we're
let's
gonna
go
start
all the way to age
there?
3. Don't worry, we'll fast track through some of the stuff. I'll do that if it's getting boring. Or do we have the Oscar award acceptance
Like,
speech
that's
music?
even more in depth than a date. Being like, age 5. Where?
Yeah, well, so I mean, you're half Chinese, you're half American. You grew up in Beijing. You said at the age of 3 you moved over to the US. What happened? Are you able to share that part of the story of your life?
Yeah. So my mom is Chinese and my father is American. And so my mom actually moved when she was 30 over to the States. The communist revolution had recently ended, and they had only recently started allowing Chinese people to leave. And so she was one of the first people to exit. She wanted to get an art degree in the States. And so, my parents actually had me in the States. But we've always been, ever since I was little, we were back and forth to China. So it was kind of like one foot in two different cultures.
Was your dad working in Beijing at the time, or?
When we moved to Beijing, when I was 11 to around 14, yes, my father was
Just
working.
tilt the mic a bit that way.
This way.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
you're good. Yep.
Cool.
Okay. So 11 to 14, he was working in Beijing.
Yeah, that was the time span that I was in Beijing for. And then up till that point, every summer we went to China to visit the Chinese side of the family.
So do you have the northern Idior type of accent, like the Beijing
Like
accent? My accents, well, mine would, if I have one, it's more like
speak Chinese.
我你好我的中国朋友我很喜欢中国我爱中国我住
Oh
在
my god, the accent.
对稍等一下我住在深圳差不多5年对我的公司那个台灯明白了吗？
明白
好 your accent's going to be much more. I honestly, it wasn't that Chinese. It was pretty much I lived in China. I sell LED. I sell lighting, I guess. Your Chinese, though, it would be more Beijing with like, we would say in the South, like EDN, which is small, little.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you're going to say,
EDR.
see, there we go. There we go. Chinese lesson for everyone. Up in the north.
I don't even realize that.
Yeah, EDR. You add this R. Like for me, when I would get in the taxis in Beijing, like I couldn't understand them, but they could understand me. So like I would just say things in like 3 different ways until you got that look in their eye, like he knew what I was saying, because the accent was so, especially a taxi driver in Beijing.
There's so many different accents.
Yeah,
and you go to different, like I actually can't even understand relatives of my family. Their accent is so different. I can't communicate.
Yeah, I lived in Taiwan a year and then Shenzhen. So the accent's it's like Fujianhua, but Taiwanese, but it's that's a completely different language. Like when I lived in Taiwan, I don't know a lick of Taiwanese. I mean, it's like, Fujianhua, Shanghai,
Guangdonghua. Oh yeah, that's my family members.
Guangdonghua, I don't understand anything. It's actually quite similar. It's funny, Cantonese Guangdonghua is very similar to Thai, a little bit.
Is it really?
Yeah, I mean the numbers are the same, like gao, like 9.
Is it really?
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're boring people with our Chinese lesson. So you're in China at age 14, and you went back to the States. So you grew up in California the whole time?
No. So I always say I'm from California, but we traveled around a lot. As I lived in California until I was 12. Then we moved to Beijing for a couple years, and then my mother and I moved back to an island in Washington State, like bordering. It's called like the killer whale island, because it's known for killer whales that go and swim around it. And then high school year was spent over there, LA, East Coast, and then Thailand.
Yeah, Washington. That's where my favorite movie, The Goonies. Do you know The Goonies?
I haven't watched The Goonies.
What? They're from Astoria.
Astoria.
That must be that's Washington State. Do you know Astoria?
I do not know.
Okay, it's somewhere.
Astoria.
That's the only place I know. So, anyways, where did you end up going to school? Did you stay in the States for university?
I went for 1 year in university. I was a game design major at the University of Southern California in the film school, and was there for 1 year, and I dropped out, and then started a career as a software developer.
And you continue doing that all in the U.S.? What type of software, what companies were you working for at the time? I guess this is a job interview, right?
Okay, switching from Chinese to...
Tell us your 3 best characteristic traits in the workforce. And you're doing software development. Now, was it major... Were you in Silicon Valley at this point, or...?
No. So when I was I started going really deep into software when I moved to the East Coast. And so when I was in California, I was still in learning mode. And so like trying to build up my resume, trying to code as much as possible, but not having any jobs. And so I was learning how to program for iPhone, I was learning how to program in Swift for Xcode. And then I was learning for a year and then applied for an internship on the East Coast. And then from there on, I started interning for a software developer on the East Coast. We switched from Swift over to web development. So it was front-end web development.
So
React,
HTML5.
JavaScript. No. Well, yes, there's HTML5, CSS, but it was mainly JavaScript front-end development software.
I've built numerous. I can talk that language. We're good.
You can't talk the
I've been building websites like since 2010, like
it's constantly evolving.
Old WordPress days. Now I kind of just stick to WordPress, and I have developers I know, but I know how to at least deal with them in that sense.
It's like actually these days for websites, you don't even want to hard code websites. You prefer to use WordPress and all that, like all the site builders. But for actual software, then that's when you'll be coding. So like when I say I'm a coder, often at that time, it's not for building websites. That would be a WordPress developer. And as a JavaScript developer, the only jobs that were kind of like good for you is working with a software company, not to build people websites. Every industry has
on the
like
JavaScript side, you're working with companies that maybe they're making a plugin app that integrates into WordPress.
There's so many different uses for it. So then when I finally got like my big job as like a JavaScript developer, it was actually it was a marketing agency. Analyst developer for learning how to.
Is this kind of what connected you and brought you into the social media world? Like that was your first taste?
It was. So when I first started on social media, I was a big fan of Tim Ferriss.
Okay. 4-day work week, or the unrealistic 4-day work week.
And also, actually, funny enough, it's a small world. I was a really big, Paul Banasiak at that time had a podcast called The Muay with Sean Phagan.
Yes.
Called The Muay Thai Guys.
Yep.
And so I was a really big fan of Tim Ferriss. I was a really big fan of the Muay Thai guys. I was like listening to them talking about their life in Thailand. And then I remember like consuming this one piece of content on Tim Ferriss, and he was saying, if you want to personal brand yourself, the best way to personal brand is if you're not the best in one industry, because to be the best in one industry is extremely difficult. To be like the Michael Jordan of basketball is like 1%, but to be like the top 10% in 3 different areas is a lot. Like it's a lot easier to brand yourself, and you're a lot more memorable. Just not just the dentist, but like the dentist kickboxer or
like
something.
Full stack development. I think that's like
no. So I was like, I'll be the fight coder.
Okay.
I was like, that's very memorable. Also, I'm a girl, so it's versus just the coder girl, which is already like it was a niche category that was memorable. But that was when I first started on social media. I was just like, I'll brand myself this way. And at that time, I had decided that I wanted to become a freelancer. And so I was just like, okay, well, in order to be a freelancer, you need to have people know about you. And so I will start creating content to brand myself. And also, I think a part of me always loved storytelling. Ever since I was little, my mom would always tell me stories. I originally wanted to become a writer when I was in 11 to 12. And then when I wanted to become a filmmaker, which is why I wanted to get to USC. Then I wanted to become a game designer. And it was all around the concept of telling stories. So I think that's why I've continued creating content for so long, is I just still love the storytelling aspect of it.
Were you building like your portfolio, and were you kind of going through like that Upwork channel and then doing freelancing through that? Or was it more like connections of friends and word of mouth?
It was through Instagram.
Okay.
Like a lot of my work came through like connections on Instagram. I would be like posting my stories, what I'd be doing. And then, it was a lot of work came through Instagram.
What was your channel at that point in time? I'm assuming it's probably changed a bit?
It was called Fight Code, Julia.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah, for the longest time. Yeah, and I got quite some flack when I shifted and moved away from that.
But the account's the same, you just changed the name?
I changed the name.
Okay.
Yeah, because I felt like a fraud, because after living in Thailand for a couple of years, the coding, it was just, I didn't love it enough. I went into coding wanting to be a game developer, like wanting to tell stories, and then code was an outlet. It was like the method to do it, but actual coding I didn't really love. So then like getting jobs and just working in code all day, I would just end the day feeling drained. So I think my conclusion is why I shifted away from it is because it was just not, it was a channel, but my real passion is storytelling.
And more on that content creation side, where it's, you have that creative ability. Now you have creativity as well in the coding side. But let's
a lot of creativity.
To even step it back, take one step back further. What was your initial, or how were you initially introduced to Muay Thai? Where's that connection from?
The first time I got even interested in striking was when my my sister-in-law took me to a cardio kickboxing class. And because prior to that, my family was we're very bookish. Like, because we traveled so much, and then my parents sent me to private schools, there was never any athletic programs that were easily accessible. So even though like our family was quite athletic, I never got into sports when I was young. And it was only when I started actually going off the path, deviating from the path, dropping out of university, and then feeling completely lost, that I started exploring what genuinely interested me. And then martial arts just grabbed me. And it's, you know, like when you find something and then
where were you in New York or the East Coast, that side? Were you in the West Coast? When did you first like walk into a Muay Thai gym?
It was in California.
Okay.
When it was a Muay Thai gym. Yeah.
And
California.
this was from you said it was your sister's side, like introducing you to the cardio. Hey, come check this out. Were you immediately, were you hooked?
Yeah, that's, let's just say like at that age, I was struggling a lot with depression during that time. And my family was trying to help me taking like antidepressants and going to therapy. And I just remember that I was just very miserable for a very long time, for years at a time. And I remember after coming out of the Muay Thai class, I was just like, this is the first time that I feel happy in a long time. Like, and that's actually what had me coming back. And it actually is one of the reasons why I still go to martial arts, is for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, any type of intense cardio or exercise.
The endorphin rush.
The endorphin rush. I find that's why I train every morning. I'll do a HIIT class at 8. And the rest of the day, nothing can go wrong because you've just released so much energy. Could it maybe the fact, like you're saying, you're going to private school? This isn't a therapy session either. You say you're going to private school, but I mean, you didn't have that opportunity maybe in your childhood to release that energy, and finally, when you got there, that's what you were missing.
It was. So my theory is that because I was feeling really low. At the time I was also struggling a lot with self-esteem, and I had a pretty big social anxiety as well. And so sometimes I think what I needed at that point is I just needed to be around other people to realize that people are not like, because when you have socially anxious, at that time I was just afraid of people. And so I think I also needed to just be around others. And then martial arts gave an environment where you can be around others, but the intention is not you're all focusing on the martial art, not on each other. So I think that was what I needed.
You get with these martial arts, you get into deep water, right? I mean, it's like surfing, and when you're out in the ocean, like initially when you jump in, it's intimidating, but once you're in that deep water, your only option is to figure out how to deal with it at that point as well. And especially something like Muay Thai, were you initially just doing pad work, or did you jump into the deep water and start sparring at it, early into that passion?
It was training up until you're finally ready to do sparring. Then gradually. Did
you fight within the first year?
I don't remember. God, it's such a long time ago. I think it was within I did know that I wanted to fight. And I think it was like at the end of the first year, after 12 months. Then that was like the next step in the challenge.
At which point you're listening to Paul, the Muay Thai technician, on his podcast, and I'm sure that's, tickling your taste buds to, I want to go taste that. I want to see that. How did you make that connection to come over to Thailand? When did this idea even, when was it starting to become, a reality?
I was at a crossroads in my life. I had just gotten an opportunity to work for this software agency that I thought was my dream software agency. I had been like eyeing them for a year, and that was on the East Coast. But then also I was listening to the podcast with Sean Phangan and Paul, and then they were talking about life in Thailand and, like how you can live. And they're quite entrepreneurial people as well, and they're just like, yeah, this is like there's a digital nomad community in Chiang Mai. There's the digital nomad life that is also an option. So I remember at that time I was at a crossroads. I had just gotten this opportunity to interview for like the software agency had been my dreams, yeah. And I remember I visited the office because they're like, oh, come take a tour, come take a look around, get to meet the people. And I remember going there and looking around, seeing the people. Everyone was so nice. But then I was imagining myself, for there a couple years, every single day going to the same place. And the moment after I visited, I was like, this is not my dream. I don't want this. And then I dropped everything and I was like, I'm going to move to Thailand and figure it out. That's actually what I want. And yeah, it was it was in that moment. I think it was on New Year.
What year would that have been?
I think it was 2018 on to 2019, because I remember like I was on the plane when it switched to the new year.
What was your plan? You're on this plane, you're coming to Thailand. Where are you landing? How are you getting set up? And, what are you going to do for work?
It was actually really cool. So I had eventually, because I was creating content for about 8 months at that time, I built like a little personal brand for myself. I think I was up to like 10,000 followers at that time. And at that time, I fell onto Sean Phagan's radar. And I think prior to that, I had traveled on a retreat with Paul for like 10 days. And I actually visited Thailand briefly. And so then Sean Phagan introduced me to a Muay Thai gym in Thailand. And through the introductions, I arranged to be the gym's social media manager.
Which gym? Which location?
Diamond Muay Thai in Phangan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the first year, it wasn't paying, but it was like accommodation, food, and training. And it was like, that was the dream come true at that time. It was so cool. And it was totally a different deviation from the path that I was going to go on.
For people that are probably listening, they're going to have that question. Okay, that Muay Thai lifestyle, you can come, you can train for free, you have accommodation for free, but there's still the lifestyle of like eating, motorbike. There's an expense and a cost. How did you manage that? Did you have savings? Did you pick up side gigs in which you were doing your social media?
Freelancer. As a freelancer. At that time, I was trying to continue to be a software developer. And in my head, I was just like, I can balance it all. Like I can do everything. Obviously execution never matches reality. So for a year, I was trying to like earn money through gigs online, and then, but then also like managing the social media for the gyms and stuff,
and training,
and training, and also because when I came, I was in my maybe 20, I think. So I was definitely still figuring things out. I was still struggling a lot with mental health, and a lot of there's a lot of aspects of me that were still very naive, and even now I'm still naive, but even more naive before. And so it's not just been it's been like a personal growth journey as well, like literally learning how to grow up in a completely, because all of a sudden you're completely removed. There's your family is gone, and you just have to rely on yourself and your own intuition. And it's been not just, it's been a personal, like just learning how to be an adult. And
and especially learning in a country like Thailand. At least this place here, cost of living is cheap. You get this this community away from home as well. And when you're in a place like Koh Phangan, there's a lot of support. People that have probably been there longer than you, that have gone through that, and they've kind of they were the trailblazers, the pioneers, and you can find some direction. Is that your situation as well that you could relate to? Like just looking for that support side on, let's say, just the digital media, these digital nomads that you might have questions of, how can I don't know, simple things. How can I rent the motorbike? How should I deal with my landlord? Maybe outside the job and the workforce. Did you have your own community in Koh Phangan as well? Yeah,
well, that's what I love about martial arts, is that wherever you travel, you can immediately connect with people and have like a mutual passion. And so since living in Thailand the past 5 years, I'm constantly like traveling around to different locations. And it's so cool because it's like immediately you can connect with a community in the Muay Thai community. And then outside of that, in Chiang Mai, there's co-working spaces where you can connect with people working online.
Yeah, they built one over at Boat Avenue, and they're building something as well by there. It's called Homa, Homa.
I heard about that.
Yeah, that won't be.
Are you gonna check it out?
It won't be till next year,
Okay.
I think. But me, I'm like, I can't work in co-working spaces because I need like 4 screens. I need like I don't know. I've never understood co-working spaces. Like once you go to like 2 or 3 screens and then 4, like I can't even go on the road. Like I'll be on my laptop and be like I can't deal with this shit now. Like it's just so so hard. I can't
That
handle
was my struggle also when I was like a developer, was because like when you're a web developer, you have to have multiple screens. And then like in my head, I was imagining like, you know, on the beach, like, you know, working like on my laptop. Execution is horrible. Like coding from one screen is horrible. And that was another reason why like I shifted away from it, is like, once again, reality does not match your expectations.
Well, I was with like my boss a couple weeks ago, and we sat down, and he was at Peppers, and he's like, I'm going to do work. And he pulled up, I haven't seen these laptops yet, but he pulled up his laptop, and it comes with an extension screen that goes on a thing, and he pulled out a keyboard, and he's got dual screen in the
Would you
restaurant.
do that?
No, because I like working at home.
Yeah.
I just like the bathrooms there, the kitchen's there, you know. I can do things, get done while I'm working. If you want to take a 10-minute break to, you know, go take out the laundry. I just like how everything's in my bubble here.
Nice. Yeah.
I can't do that from a co-working space. And I do like the distractions sometimes. I feel like when you go to the co-working space, I would just be there to work. And you're like, okay, I'm here for 3 hours. Well, maybe I don't want to work and stare at this thing for 3 hours. I want to get up. I want to do that. So that it doesn't work for me. So you got there in 2018, 2019 in Copenhagen?
I think so.
And we'll call it, we won't use the C word because YouTube doesn't like it and they might ban us on the algorithm. It just helps when we don't use that. We'll call it the current situation or the past situation. When the past situation hit, were you in Copenhagen? Can you talk about that experience without using any naughty words that YouTube doesn't like?
Okay. Oh, this will be interesting.
It's like, okay, and tell your sentence without using the letter E as well.
I was in Samui during that time, and lockdown was, I think everything is relative compared with a lot of different countries. It was a lot less, but it was still jarring because I think none of us had ever experienced that. So being so isolated for so long was a challenge. Yeah.
And you're able to keep the work going? Was there a dramatic drop off?
Actually, I worked nonstop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But actually it became a little unhealthy because there's nothing else to do. So I only worked. And I didn't.
None of the gyms were open, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, here as well. Like all the gyms had to close.
Yeah, I went because there were moments in Thailand where things would open up and you could travel a little bit. And the time that I spent in Koh Phangan during COVID was actually quite nice. Relative.
I think everyone can share that experience. Like Phuket, wherever you were in Thailand during that lockdown, there's no people. I mean, the beaches were pristine, and
yeah, exactly. Like nature, like regrew, right. And you're like,
and we'll never see that again in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope not.
It became like a small little like island community, and actually there's a lot of digital nomads in Koh Phangan during that time because all the people who were on vacation couldn't stay. Like they would like have to go back home.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting time. It became like a small family in a way. Everyone knew each other and everyone's out hiking. Like it was like the most nature that all of us got into.
It was interesting because now when you go out, it's hard to distinct who's the tourist and who's
it's pretty easy to tell.
Okay. Yes. I mean, if they have a white shirt, I mean, do you think in Russia everyone gets this white flannel, like linen shirt at the airport? They're like, oh, you're going to Thailand? Yeah, here's your white linen shirt and get on a motorbike. No, but I mean, yeah, you can tell these tourists, and usually the ones that have like the rental helmets on. But still, when things were locked down, it's like nobody was a tourist. Therefore, you know, the people that you would meet, you know, they're going to be there for a while and you can have those relationships. It's hard living in Thailand and growing relationships with people that may, especially at a gym, that you know are probably leaving in a week.
But I think that's what's so cool about social media, though, actually, is because these days it's like people leave in a week, but if you want to, you can continue building the relationship online if that is something that you want to pursue, if they are also active online. Some people, if they're not active online, then you can't. But in some experiences, I have like friendships that have grown after, you know, just like interacting with each other's content and relating. So I always think it's so cool. Like, I think it's so cool to meet people from all over the world. I'm actually really happy like whenever people are coming from all over, because if I resonate with that person and they're active on social media, I can continue like following their story and their journey wherever they go.
And then when you meet up again, that relationship is even stronger now.
Sometimes, yeah. But it's like now these days, that's what I like about Instagram. It's like you don't have to lose the relationship if you don't want to. You can continue building on it if you choose so. And
now you're going around gym to gym. Now, are you helping them create this content? Is that kind of, are they bringing you in? Like, for example, now you're over at Revolution.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what is your relationship with them and how does that work, whether it's on the personal or the business side, whatever you can share?
Yeah, it's, I think the insight that, because I think these past 5 years living in Thailand, it's also been me figuring out how I want like my work to look, and what I've realized is that the most fulfilling kind of work is working with people that you love what they're doing, you know, like you love their business. And I'm very good at creating social media content. And I just love working with people where I love what they're doing. Like Muay Thai gyms, I love it. And Tim, he has like a really good culture at his gym. And usually when I come to Phuket, is like a week at a time. And whenever I come, there's always like something fun that's going on. And so usually how it works is I develop these kind of like long-term relationships with different gym owners. We have like a working collaboration. Sometimes it's paid, sometimes it's in exchange for accommodation. And I create social media content with them. I promote them while I'm here.
So would you reach out to these gyms and say, hey, this is what I'm doing for other gyms. This is what I can do for you. Are you interested to have that conversation?
Yeah. And usually actually, because what's cool about Instagram is like after a while, your own content just takes a life of its own. It's virality. So a lot of times people already know of me. Because I've just focused on one niche, usually a lot of people who are in the Muay Thai niche, they already know who I am at this point. And they're like, oh, you're the Muay Thai, you're on Instagram.
So, and again, you're helping these gyms grow followers, which in turn, you know, brings more eyes, more views, more impressions.
Yeah, well, because so how social media works is people will relate to you. The people who are similar to you will relate to you. So I think I bring a feminine quality, like aspect that a lot of Muay Thai gyms are looking for. Like I show women that, you know, is like the gyms that I go to, I can show them that it's like a safe environment for them to go because I'm there and I'm enjoying my time there. So I think it's good representation that also is beneficial.
Do a lot of women, maybe wherever they're coming from in the world, and they want to come to Thailand and train Muay Thai, is that like a top concern for them? Like of the safety of themselves and surrounded by a pretty much a male dominant, you know, community. Is that something they question?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's very important. Yeah, for me personally, like my criteria for picking gyms is, are there women training there? Personally, yeah, that's how I decide.
Yeah, to make sure you're not just the black swan running around there.
Because it all depends on the gym environment. If you're the only girl there and it's in a foreign country and Thai culture is also different, then and you don't know the culture of the gym, you don't know if it's like kind of like a macho gym where you might not feel comfortable. Because there are also gyms like that exist, that where you're not treated, it's like yeah, you don't
Yeah,
like how
well,
you're treated.
it's. I mean, if you're the only girl, like, have you had that experience? Like, again, a lot of the guys coming and going, these Muay Thai fighters, they're here for maybe a month as well. I'm sure a lot are here long term, and others are here for a month. And being the only female in the class, you might have like 15 males like eyeing you down for a vacation ship, which is. Have you had to experience with that, and is it something like that you pass to your audience, like, don't worry, these gyms are safe, it is more like a brotherhood, more like a community, so you don't need to worry about that?
Usually if you're going to be the only if you're a woman in a gym, you can't even like blame guys for acting like that. And
Right.
so that's why I personally I would avoid it if I'm going to be the only girl, cuz you can't even like imagine if there's like 10 girls and then one guy comes, you're like, "Hey," like
Yeah.
you can't blame
Yeah,
either gender.
it's going to go either way. But
Yeah.
again, if you're the only girl, there's a certain level. You're there to train. You're there for the vacation. You're there to learn. Maybe you're doing your work as well. And if you're the only girl there and there's 20 guys, you might have to turn down 20 guys a day. It would be a bit annoying.
It depends. So everyone has different perspectives. There are some women who they actually, it really depends how you take it. So some women, they grow a lot by being around male fighters, because then it's like they're sparring men every single day and they get really, really tough. And if that's what you're ready to do, and then you know how to set your boundaries, and you're just like, I'm here to grind, you can grow a lot as a fighter. But if you're there just to have like a good time, like a good experience, you feel a little uncomfortable in this, and you don't like being approached, and you don't, then yeah, it all depends what your intentions are.
When you go to those gyms, do you find like maybe like a male friend that can kind of like vouch for you, like tell the other guys to fuck off a little bit? Like, is that like kind of like?
But it's like a community.
Yeah,
honestly,
I noticed it, like the Muay Thai community a lot of it.
Everyone knows each other, and I think that's what's so powerful about Instagram is like, and at this point, when I go somewhere, usually people know who I am, or like very fast they know. And so, and when this is the thing, is like it becomes like a community, and when it's a community, it's safe because everyone knows each other. No one's gonna try anything because you're like, oh, that's my friend's friend. And but yeah, so like the more people I know, the safer I feel.
Just a quick shout out to 5-Star Marine. 5-Star Marine's been helping support this podcast. They're basically just kind of covering our bills so we can operate, and I'm not out of pocket every other month. But go check them out. They are it's like a VIP speedboat tour company on the island of Phuket. They're doing some great stuff. If you don't want to deal, with the typical salesman selling you speedboats and taking you to where you don't want to go, these guys are the ones that are going to give you that private tour. So links in the description. Check that out. Next, I kind of want to jump into like the catalyst of like what really exploded your account. I mean, you're over 200,000 people now on Instagram, and anyone that's maybe getting into this business, maybe they want to know the tips and tricks, and sometimes it could be a one-off thing that just rocketed it. You said back in 2018, you're sitting around 10,000. Well, you're talking that's a 20-fold. Can you remember specifically what really rocketed you and launched you up?
Yep.
Let's go.
Very fast answer. Yes. Literally in the past, in 1 month, I rose by 200,000 followers.
How? Was it a post? Or?
It's one post. One single post.
How many? Yeah. It would have got 50 million then.
Now it's around like 330,000 likes.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
But views, you're talking, it's got to be 50 million.
I don't know. Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah, I haven't looked. But yeah, it was basically, it was me getting ready for a fight. And historically I always get really nervous. So I think what the algorithm picked it up because it was already performing really well. It plays to a song about like a woman putting her armor on and then showing how strong she is. And then I remember when I found that song, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect for this video, and posted it. And I think because when I did post it, it resonated with a lot of women fighters, because some of my female fighter friends said that they cried when they saw that, because it touched a nerve with them, because I think a lot of content on social media is a fighter's victorious, like being badass and like is badass moments. That's usually what you think when you think of fighting. And then this was a different type of content where I was terrified. I was like, and then we were putting, I think we were doing the prayer before the Mongkong and then putting the mouth guard in. And then the trainer was trying to get me to breathe because I was hyperventilating. And he's like, breathe. Okay, let's do this. And then just like start. And I think there's not a lot of content out there showing fighters like, you know, summoning the courage up to fight, which is a big reason for why I fight is the courage factor. It's not about being badass. Like I'm terrified the whole time.
But I think most fighters going in, I mean, I fought in high school. I was a hockey player. I was a lunatic, but
did you fight
I definitely
in the
never,
hockey game?
I never won. I definitely never won, but I think everybody that gets into a fight, you have to go in with the fear. You can't go in, like, you got to have a little bit of fear in the back of your mind.
I had such an interesting conversation with a fighter girlfriend, and she was like, damn, this one time that I didn't have fear, everything hurt because there's no adrenaline. Because she's just like, oh, I wasn't nervous going to the fight. Every single strike hurt me so much because I didn't have the adrenaline and the fear going. So fear is actually kind of good. It helps.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. It's that fight or flight, and there is no flight in a fight.
You can decide to.
Well, I'm sure some fighter. I mean, you've seen them in the UFC sometimes. At least in MMA, you have a good out.
Like, you have a good out?
Well, your out is pretty simple. You get knocked, you go to the ground. The guy's either gonna jump on you, and you can cover up, and the ref will break it up.
Yeah, Muay Thai as well.
Well, they'll stand your ass back up too, right? Or a lot of the guys, what they do in the UFC specifically is they get taken down and they kind of like protect, and then they slowly give the neck so that.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Really?
Glover Teixeira, Jan Blachowicz, that Jan fight, it looked like you get hit a couple times and maybe you're just not in it that day, but you can go out without getting knocked out. They can put you the submission, you can tap, and because you don't, black out, you don't have like a 6-month, delay. In the UFC, these promotions,
there's strategy behind
if you get knocked out, like you're done for 6 months, and maybe you want to.
So then, if that's your career, then you're strategic.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Jumping back to that post, and that was your motivation for getting into Muay Thai. It's the courage. Is this kind of what is that the adrenaline you're chasing? Or is that something that you're trying to prove?
No, I really love the traditional philosophy of martial arts. Like, when you hear about martial arts, it's like the practice is like learning how to better yourself. And by getting better at martial arts, you're also getting better at other aspects of life. You're learning how to control your emotions. You're learning how to do difficult things. You're learning how to have discipline. That's why I fight, is because it's one of the things that creates the most fear in me. And every time that I face that fear, I feel like I grow as a person. And it's the best way to learn, to get better at Muay Thai. I feel very proud of myself every time I step in the ring because I feel so much fear.
Yeah. And I mean, just kind of spitballing, I never thought of it in this way, where actually hundreds of years ago, like most people had to enroll in the army, and even to today, the army and whatnot, this is going to create discipline. But maybe like martial arts are like an outlet where you can create that, patience, determination, discipline without having to go to the army. And I find anyone that you meet that have gone down that path, I mean, you wake up in the morning, you make your bed. There's certain routines and rituals. A lot of that is very well connected to martial arts.
Yeah, a lot of the women that I admire the most, like the people that you see succeeding in martial arts or succeeding in fighting, it's also because they've developed really good discipline in their life. And if you choose to have that carry over into other aspects of your life, then it becomes like Zen and martial arts. And
when these women, when they reach out to you, and especially after this post that went viral, and you had to communicate and get, what was some of the feedback you were getting?
Feedback for that specific post, I think people resonated with the post a lot because, like I told you, a lot of the content out there is just people being victorious, but there's not a lot of content of people showing their fear. But I love telling that aspect of the story. Like I actually don't. I've fought and won 12 out of my 14 fights at this point, and every time I win, I don't get that excited. I'm just like, oh, glad it's done. Like, whew. But yeah, I enjoy facing the fear. That's what I enjoy the most out of fighting, and I think that's the story that I want to tell. It's not about like the accolades or anything. It's about doing something that scares your socks off and overcoming it, and also like doing something where you're doubting yourself the whole time. You're just like, am I enough? Like, I don't know, like, and you have all that internal doubt, but you do it anyways, and then you come out on the other end. And even if you fail, then how do you manage that failure too? Is that it's not just about winning. It's about, okay, if you lose, can you handle it gracefully? You know, will you just give up on fighting, or will you keep moving forwards? Yeah.
Will this represent your branding, and maybe this video was the catalyst to be like, okay, that is my branding. I'm showing the courageous side instead of, you know, the hard-nosed assassin that's going to come out, you know, break.
Not at all. Yeah.
When did you realize that is your voice to represent your content?
I think because I don't even think about it so much as branding at this point. Now it's just like, what is my truth? And it's not the truth, it's my truth. And then what do I want to share? What is like my perspective that I want to share? And for me today, like, you know, you asked me a year ago, maybe it was different, but today what I want to share is that Muay Thai doesn't, because oftentimes like there's this stereotype of like a woman fighter, you're like, oh, she must be masculine, she must look like a man. But having lived in the Muay Thai world in Thailand for so long, what I've observed is it's so beautiful, and there's so many like beautiful artistic, just like dancing is like Muay Thai becomes a form of self-expression. Martial arts is a form of self-expression, and fighting can be like, if you're a woman and you have a masculine style, then that's you expressing your, you know, like yourself. And if someone is feminine, then it's them expressing their essence too. And there's so many beautiful female fighters who just like, I love observing people develop their style. And yeah.
Who do you look up to when you're trying to, you know, find creative inspiration on the female Muay Thai side?
There's so many really good female fighters out there. They're like a lot of them are my good friends who I've trained alongside, and then I see their work ethic. I see how hard they work, and it's inspiring. There's so many gyms. So right now, Phuket Fight Club and Hong Kong Muay Thai have a lot of really, really good female fighters there who have amazing work ethic, who've developed their styles. And currently there's I can't name all of them. There's so many fighters in those two gyms.
Clayton, he's the owner of Phuket Fight Club, Brazilian. He was on the podcast before.
Oh, nice.
Do you know Clayton?
I don't know him personally. No.
He was on. Yeah, he's a really cool guy as well. There's a couple famous fighters, big Brazilians as well, but there's one girl that's fighting. Do you know Stamp Fairtex?
Yeah.
She's fighting a girl that used to train, a French girl. Anissa or something.
Mexan?
Yes.
Oh, is she fighting Anissa Mexan? Stanford? Yeah.
That's like next month or the month after. But Anissa used to train at Phuket Fight Club. I think she's back. I don't think she's in Thailand right now, actually.
From what I know, I think she has her own coach that she's been working with for a very, very long time. And she has over like 100 plus
That's
fights.
a tough fight for Stamp, and they're both
someone said it was going to be like part MMA, part Muay Thai.
Well, they're both Muay Thai fighters anyways.
No, you know, like the Rotang versus
Oh, 1 round. Demetrius Johnson, where they changed which doesn't make any sense, because it's like, okay, well, now it's grappling. Well,
someone said that to give like Stamp a little bit more of an advantage.
That would probably give her, I don't know. Who knows?
I have no idea either.
The insight. Have you met the I guess they're sisters, Stamp and Nat, right?
No, Supergirl and Nat are sisters.
Okay, so it's
Stamp is not related.
I thought I think it's Supergirl or Supergirl is fighting Anissa, I think.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I
maybe
think it's Stamp.
we're gonna have to fact check that. Let us know in the comments how stupid I sound. Right? We'll check that out. We'll have to check that out. But I saw Nats down here. She's over at Southside MMA with Ty Emery. She's over there.
So cool.
Yeah.
Ty Emery's at Southside also.
Yeah, she's over there.
So cool.
But Ty lives up here, so she's got to commute, and it's far. It's like they're down
from here to all the way down to Rawai.
Yeah, Ty's up in this area, but
God,
she's going down. She told me it's like an hour and a half some days.
Oh, geez.
It's pretty crazy.
No, just for training?
Just for training. I've seen her some days.
Wow.
We'll go. Well, she's been on a couple times. She has a fight, I think, she's doing bare knuckle, I think, next weekend.
Why doesn't she train at Bantao if she's...
I think she has a relationship with them down there. Because she was at Powerhouse. She was at Tiger. Now she's at this Southside MMA. I see her at Bangtao on Saturday mornings doing the HIT class. That's a cool class. Cool. But she's ready to go. I think she has another fight. I'm not sure where it is though, because last time she had to flash. And now, okay, that's an interesting question. When you see a female fighter doing that, and it's definitely the complete opposite of what you're doing, how do you respond to that? Or is it like, hey, she's doing her thing, let her do it?
No, I think it's awesome though. Okay. No, because everything is self-expression. It's like, I'm not like, oh, if that is who you inherently are and you're just like expressing your personality, I think that's fucking awesome. And yeah, I have my own personality that I express in my way, but I always I admire people who are not afraid to just be who they are, authentically themselves. Like, don't try to be anybody else. Be yourself. It's awesome. Yeah,
I guess in Muay Thai you can't really hide your true colors. They just have to come out anyways.
But why should you hide though? Yeah. I think like just like martial arts is self-expression, and I think what personal branding should be self-expression. Like I think that should be the ultimate goal, is try to get your personal brand online as in line as your real life, as in line as who you are in reality. And that can change as you grow. Like it may be what you are today. It can be different when you're 30. What's your long-term goal? You're here in Thailand. Yeah. I mean, you're working with these different gyms. Do you plan to be here for the rest of your life? Oh, I was actually thinking, I was like, what is my purpose? No, not purpose, but I mean, those next, thinking about the next step. I mean, personally, I'm not going anywhere. You can close this bridge down and I'm happy right on Surm Beach. Don't care. Oh, really? I will live here till I die. I'm good with it. Gone. I'm comfortable. I've been to every country in Southeast Asia. Nice. I will go to Europe when I'm older, and it's, Europe's easy to travel. Asia's hard to travel. But for yourself, you're still young. I mean, you have that ability to, Bali's up and coming with these gyms. I mean, you got Mexico, you got Europe. Do you see something where you would transition to another country, continent? I'm going to move in 8 days to the UK. Oh, you said you're leaving tomorrow, no? Yeah, I'm leaving to Phangan tomorrow. Okay. And then, in a week, basically, or 10 days, I'm going to go to the UK. And then from there, be there for a month, and then go to the US for a gig thing. Yeah. And continue doing kind of what you're doing now, this type of... We'll see, because I think my long-term vision is being young, I still definitely want to travel. It is when my vision was to come to Thailand, was to continue traveling and learning martial arts from different countries around the world. And that is what still calls to me and what still excites me. Is I think that's going to be the next challenge, is actually going to different countries and then learning different martial arts from there. But at the same time, now I don't consider the States my home anymore. I consider Thailand my home. I love it. And I know that if it doesn't work out, if I go to a different country and I'm like, actually, this is shit, I way prefer the Muay Thai in Thailand. It's way much funner. It's way funner. Then I always know that Thailand is there. And yeah, I love it here. But yeah, I think it's time to start exploring. We were talking about that. Will eventually, is that on the radar where you will make your way down to Tulum and I forget the name of it's called Tulum Muay Thai or I think so. Something along so Eddie's there, Brooks there, Magnus Anderson's training there as well. Yeah. Would you give that a shot? Is that on your radar at all? I would love to. I haven't reached out to them yet, but I was thinking I was going to be in California anyways, and I'm going to be in the UK. I haven't made any plans yet, but if everything worked out, visiting all of the cool martial arts gyms in all the different countries is dream come true.
Yeah, Mexico. I have some friends living there as well that have lived in Thailand.
And like learning boxing in Mexico, for example.
Yeah. I guess that's pretty much the heart. Cuban boxing, Mexican boxing.
I don't know anything about it, but yeah, you see like all the
Canelo. Yeah.
Yeah, like like learning the most popular martial art in that country. And or maybe in one country it might not be a martial art. Maybe it's like it's a dance or something. But
capoeira. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time I still want to like something that you can fight with too. And then you can be more unexpected, unpredictable in fighting.
Would you get into BJJ and mixed martial arts? Is that something on
I
the
like
radar?
grappling. I don't like having the gi because if you're traveling all the time, having a gi around is I've tried and it's not. I want everything to be able to fit in a backpack.
I mean, at least with your dry gear, it's easy to toss in there.
Yeah, well, no gi. Yeah, that's easy.
I did it for a couple of years and just I couldn't take it. I always kept getting injured. That was the problem.
With no gi or
with no gi, just like little things like your knee. You do something, the next day you show up, you're like, what the fuck? Or your shoulders, joints, things like that. Fingers, always like something would happen. I mean, it's pretty intense. I find Muay Thai if you're light sparring or doing pad work, the worst kind of pain is I've always had problems with the trainers, sometimes the Thai trainers where they want to meet you like when you're not fully extended. And I had that talk they jam you. And then like the next day my elbow was in so much pain. I talked to Paul about that as well. He's like, yes, because they want to hear the loud smack, right?
Yeah.
And I'll stop them. I'll be like, no, meet me here, but they'll meet you here. And then like the next day, the pain in the elbow, or even right in the wrist.
Oh,
so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like trainers that slam too much. Yeah. Then you're just like, you're jamming me.
Right, and you want to train 3-4 days a week, so it's...
It's the same with the elbows, too. Like, when they make me throw elbows, I'm like, this isn't realistic. Like, you have to, like, go forward and over to...
Are you... What type of style are you using in the ring? Now, you recently had a fight. You won. You said you were a bit bigger at that time, but it was a last-minute type of fight, right?
I mean, Thailand's very common to just be like, you want to fight? Okay, in 3 days, go. Or, no, in a week. Yeah, that's very common.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the Thai fighters, they'll say they have 100+ fights. But a lot of those guys, they're all kind of friends with each other, and they're fighting in Bangla or Patong Stadium, and because they get paid. Like, and you watch them, you can go down. It'll be two Thai guys.
There are levels to the game,
right?
For sure.
They're not,
like,
but they're not
the
going.
top fighters are in Bangkok
at like Rajadam.
Yeah.
Here, Bangla is it's more like Muay Thai tourism.
Here it's more like the casual Thai fighters who,
like if you watch, they're not throwing elbows. Like in some of those, like you can tell when like those guys, they're having beers after. Like he got paid.
But
they're
that's
out.
great though.
Oh, it's great. Yeah,
that's what I love about the Muay Thai culture is like Muay Thai culture in Thailand is not about like smashing the other person. Like usually everyone is a friend and is like a sport. And to like, oftentimes if you talk to Thai fighters, they're like, if you're trying to smash, that's ugly. Like, we didn't come here to see you go all aggro. Like, we came here to see beautiful Muay Thai, to see you be like dominate your opponent through like superior style and technique, not like some ugly fighting.
Yeah, where you're trying to actually injure them or
but actually, it's an art form in a way.
Do you see yourself leveling up over the years, where maybe you'll go, to the bigger stadiums, the bigger fights, or are you just happy what you're doing?
Yeah, no. Every time you fight, you get better, and I know like the fastest way to level up is to just fight constantly. Because I have other things going on in my life also. It's sometimes I put Muay Thai to the side and I focus on other things. But yeah, in the long term, I love to continue fighting and continue leveling up, and it's just for my own personal development.
And as a female fighter, I mean, for males, I'm assuming it's still a bit different.
Okay.
But I mean, as the female fighter, like, what does your family think? If I personally had a boy and a daughter, if my daughter, I would think differently. It's probably how I'm wired. But when your family seeing you in the ring and fighting, and there's potential something could go wrong, do they have those conversations before, after? Like, what's that conversation you're having with them?
It's I think part of growing up is stopping to seek approval of my family. at the beginning, when I dropped out of university, when I started doing like experimenting, doing different things, I felt really bad about like how my like everyone's going to judge. These days, I'm not even really seeking approval from family. It doesn't matter anymore. And the thing is, the value that why you do it. Like I do it because it gives me self-discipline. I know it makes me like a better person, and I know my intentions for doing it. And so I don't need anyone else's, if they are disapproving of it, they're projecting their impressions of it onto me, which is okay. And I don't need to correct them, but I know why I'm doing it, and I'm doing it for myself for healthy reasons. So if someone's projecting what they think onto it, sometimes you can correct them if they're in the mindset to listen, but if they're not in the mindset to listen, it's okay. Like this is for me, and I know it's like this is making me healthier.
Yeah, it can be when people, if they have a stubborn mindset and you're trying to explain,
okay. Yeah.
It's like beating a dead horse. There's nothing.
I don't need to. These days, I don't need to convince anyone that what I'm doing is correct, because it's like we all have our own lives, and at the end of the day, we all like nobody's thinking about you. Just live your life. It's. I'm designing the life the way I want to live it, and it's very unorthodox to many people, but no one else is going to live my life, and no one else cares. They're thinking about their own life. So I love what I'm creating, and yeah, it's very unorthodox. All my work is done on my phone now. I don't do work from my laptop, and that's something that I've intentionally designed.
Sometimes I use this question for the guests, and it's maybe something in 10 years or 15 years, but let's just call it 10 years.
You're very intentional. Yeah, I'm sure you have a 10-year, 15,
let's
30-year plan.
How are we on time? Did we hit an hour?
I'm sure we did.
About 1 hour, because we had to stop because
we're okay, that's good. I just don't want to go too far. We're trying to keep it between 45 to an hour and 10.
Getting to a good question though.
Yeah, see? You see how I've also intentionally done that. Okay. So we'll end it on this question and maybe one more. Let's see. But let's keep it at 10 years, and this could be an interesting YouTube video if you still remember in 10 years later. And let's say this is which one's her camera? Which one do we want to give her? This one or this? Her. Yeah. Let's say that. One. Okay, we're gonna shoot it to that camera, and I will put a timestamp so it's very easy to follow later.
Oh no! I don't. But
what? Okay. Don't worry, it's simple. For yourself in 10 years, leave yourself a message for the future. What would you say?
Oh, that was what you were gonna ask. I thought you were gonna ask me my 10-year plan. Wait. No. Wait, leave a message for myself.
Yeah, you can come back. You're 20. You said you're 23, 24.
I'm 26.
26.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, hey.
Yeah. What?
Okay. So boom, you're 36. You hit my age, and maybe you come back and see this, and you can talk to the camera. And what would you say? Whatever you want to say, whether it's advice. This is up to you. This is personal to you. What message would you leave your future self?
Future self. Let's see. Well, I hope that you're as happy as you ever are, and that you have achieved all of your dreams. But most importantly, that you are very happy, because that is the end goal. Having like struggled for years and years with depression, my ultimate goal is not even just physical. Like there are like material accomplishments, but above everything is like that feeling of peace and happiness that comes, from good, healthy mental.
So happiness is your North Star.
I wish you happiness. Yeah, I hope you're very, very, very happy, because that's the ultimate end goal, and then all the other goals come below that.
Well, we can see if this podcast is still sticking around in 10 years, and you come back on, we can ask.
I love you.
Okay, right before we wrap it up, this is more like a message from yourself. Don't worry, not to the camera again in that sense, but it's more any type of female fighters that are just getting into any martial art, but maybe specifically Muay Thai, and they're looking to come over to Thailand. As we all know that have traveled abroad. We've made a lot of mistakes on what we should have done, and nothing major. Is there any advice that you could pass on to people, maybe your younger self? Now you're talking to your younger self. No, I'm joking. But some advice you can pass on, especially if they're trying to transition to a new country and maybe take on this type of project.
I think take on this type of project.
Finding themselves, leaving home, escaping, you know, that safety net, that comfort. I mean, moving abroad is not such an easy task.
Yeah, I think a big insight that I had over the past couple of years is that relationships are so important. It's taking the time to really invest in friendships and people that you really connect with. My best memories are through like genuine relationships and friendships that I've had, and I think that is like one of my biggest insights, because the first year I didn't invest too much in friendships, and I fell into a romantic relationship right away, and I kind of it was my first long-term relationship, and so I isolated myself from the rest of the world. So then when I had a difficult time, I had no one to reach out to, because I had only invested in one relationship, and that one fell apart. And so I think that was one of the biggest learning lessons from when I was 20, was to, if you look around and there's no friends around, it's your own fault, because you did not invest time into building these relationships with these, awesome people. So I think, especially when traveling, it's taking the time to invest in relationships. And when I say invest, it's like really taking an interest in other people's lives and enjoying being present with them, going out and creating memories with lots of different people, and and valuing and enjoying your time with people, because it's all about people whenever you're traveling.
Yeah, I mean, it's a melting pot over here. There's people from all over the world, different backgrounds in business, personally, and whatnot. But I mean, like they say, your net worth is your network, and
enjoying time by yourself too. Not like just being like, I can't be alone I have to be around someone. Also, really, because traveling is, yes, it's all about people, and it's all about being alone simultaneously.
Yeah, well, you need
at the same time being able to be alone with yourself.
You got to preserve your energy as well. I mean, you can't, if you are traveling. I mean, every time I backpack, I don't know, I'm a bit of a princess. I can't stay. I cannot stay. I can't stay. I've never stayed in a hostel. I just can't imagine sleeping in the same room as people I don't know. That's just me. But it's good to get involved and meet these people and be open when you travel, and not so closed off as well.
Yeah, it's having the balance of being like, you're going to be alone a lot of time, and then being comfortable and you're with yourself. And actually, it's oftentimes like the best insights happen when you're alone by yourself. And that is equally just as valuable, having that alone time and then having that time with relationship. And I think, that was my biggest insights from traveling, is just like, don't burn bridges no matter what. It's so valuable, like human to human relationships, creating drama between people. From my own personal experience of having had drama, it's not worth it. It's whenever these days, like, my conclusion is, like, whenever I have an issue with someone, like, this is something that it's me projecting a problem onto that person, and first I need to resolve that within myself, and then like maybe you can take action to set a boundary or something.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with people in relationships, if they burn you, I don't believe in revenge. I'm like, you're not gonna have to answer to me. You got to go answer your karma to someone else. It all comes back. And every time you just let it go, and people will say, well, they're trying to maybe start something and they expect something to come. That's gonna live in them. And I say don't sweat the small things. That's kind of what my mentality I live by. All right, we are going to wrap it up there on those wise, insightful words by me. Yeah, sure. That was a team effort. Tons of wisdom. We're going to shoot it back to this camera here. So I feel like that show, I always say Hot Ones. This camera there. Okay. This camera here. You can stare right into the depths of the souls of your audience and just let them know where they can find you.
Right now, just on Instagram, on Fight Nomad Julia on Instagram. Hopefully in the future, YouTube. But
Okay, maybe this is the birth of the YouTube channel. Maybe you had
I
to
hope
come here
so.
to birth your YouTube channel out of this podcast. No, I'm not going to be self-centered. All right, thanks a lot for listening. That ends another episode of the Fruiting Body Podcast. Mushrooms coming out soon. Buy them all. We're out.